And Steve, you already beat me to it. Okay, welcome to Rick Snider's Washington on YouTube, where you get the whole story. So please like, share, subscribe, comment, and hit the thanks button. All right, last chat after the draft, and I just for bookkeeping purposes, or whatever you want to call them, housekeeping purposes. Not next week. Uh, so yeah, but the 13th I'll be back. So no show next Monday, but the 13th I'll be back, and I'll try and do them on Mondays during all these camps until mini camp middle of June. So wow, everybody's already jumping back in. That's great. I've so Steve's always number one. LimeWire 3. Thanks for coming. I was just working on. I have a video up about all the rookie free agents. We'll probably talk about them. There was at least I think 12 or 13. Um, Sam Hartman was the interesting one, I think, of the whole group. Uh, Notre Dame quarterback, good looking guy. I showed the picture of both my daughter to her in their 30s. They're like, whoa, who's that? And I didn't say a word. This is a new quarterback. Um, so I think bringing in Hartman pretty much says Jake Fromm's done here. And they signed another quarterback too in the offseason. But I mean, really, they guaranteed Hartman's money for his first year. So why would you do that if you're not really keeping him? Of course, Mariota's number 2. Can't imagine they're carrying 4. So, Jaden's 1. So he made this move and gave him that kind of money because you think he's going to stay on there. The rest of them, there's guys. I think just some guys that might help them in the special teams. You need those. They have some guys with past connections to coaches, all that jazz. So, that kind of stuff. So I think I gave the team a B for the draft. For 2 reasons, I didn't go A. One, I only see really one starter, in Jaden Daniels, and maybe there's a couple other guys that might, but they're mostly a lot of guys that are going to fit roles, and they're going to help strengthen the roster. And there's nothing wrong with taking them, but at A, I need a second starter. Also, didn't like that they traded with Philly in the division. I know you got an extra second rounder, you got a tight end. That didn't excite me much, but if you're wrong when you do a deal in a division, you got to eat it twice a year, and that kind of always scares me on that. And they didn't really come up with an offensive tackle right away, so that kind of gets me there. I know that okay, we're asking a bit much here, but you're talking. They drafted Brandon Coleman third round, number 67. There's some debate about is he a guard or a tackle. That's not exactly what you want your left tackle to be, a debate of which one he's better at. He might be an okay player. People like him and all. I mean, I guess after Jaden Daniels, and I got to tell you the truth, I didn't know who they were picking at quarterback until they said the name. I thought maybe it was May, the way they were talking about some things, but they didn't, I just wasn't sure. So, is it the right choice? Well, we'll know in 3 years. I don't have anything against Jane Daniels. People are already trying to say you're a hater. I'm not a hater. I'm willing to give him a chance. We'll see what happens. I mean, my only concern would be maybe injuries, but other than that, he can make plays. He seems like a strong candidate. Wish him well. Let's see. Well, why wouldn't you wish him well on there? So, but that's why I didn't go in A. And there were really the draft around the league, nobody really stood out great, and nobody really did horribly. Hi, Suzanne. Thanks for coming. Steve, any thoughts on what went wrong with the Eagles last year? Yeah, boy, they really fell off a cliff, didn't they? I mean, I know it was a little bit of it was injuries, but I don't know. I study the Commanders more than anything, but it did surprise me about the Eagles. I knew it non-revisions. Thanks for coming. So I guess we can just talk about some draft picks if you want. Let's go down first. Daniels. Somebody asked me the other day, do you think Daniels is going to get the hysteria that RG3 did? Both Heisman Trophy winners, both mobile quarterbacks. And I don't think so, but there's a couple reasons why. I talked to people about, what do you think? RG3 had a big roll up to the draft because they had traded number 2, I think it was in February, for the pick. So they said, we're getting this guy. And everybody was really up for it. Whereas Daniels, like I said, didn't know until the last second which one they're doing. So that's part of the walk up uh, going on there. Um, RG3 was mania. I mean, RG3 thing. I talked to Steve Guback, who passed away a few years ago. Steve covered this team from the 50s to I think 81, and I started in 83, so we just missed each other. But I really, admired him and talked to him a lot about history. And I said, "Have you seen anything like it?" And he said, "No." He said that, of course, social media wasn't around in his time, but RG3 was so unique. It was really, I always said, it looked like those old clips you see of the Beatles arriving and the women are screaming hysterically like they're going to die. That's what RG3 stuff was like. I mean, a couple of things happened there. One, the veterans immediately gravitated to him and said, "You're the leader." That's very unusual for veterans to do that. They want the rook to earn it. But they did with RG3. I mean, even like they were hanging around, they were calling him Black Jesus, which I don't like people doing that. But Robert had that, and Robert, listen, had a great first year up to when he got hurt. He might have been really worth it in the end. But people would scream at practices. We were down in Richmond for summer camp. People would scream RG3 over and over and over, never stopped for 3 hours. To the point that Robert, one practice, went to the crowd and said, "Listen, man, my teammates are getting annoyed by this. Nobody likes to hear anybody call RG3 for hours on end. Stop it." And it tempered it a little bit, but not much. And Alfred Morris told a story. It was really funny. He laughed when he told it. He says, "I got 5 people in line to get my autograph. Some kid comes by and says, 'RG3 sign it,' and they all ran off." At least he took it well. So I don't think that Jane Daniels is going to get quite that. Now they're already saying JD5 stuff, but I don't think it'd be quite that hysteria going on. I hope not. That was just annoying after a while. LimeWire, so dumb. People say local reporters are haters. You guys have better success and make more money than the team wins. When the team wins, absolutely. When they were really good back in the day, different world for publishing, but there were books. There were a lot of things going on. I made a lot of money. And now, speaking of books, I did pretty well with this book overall. I can't complain. But the Commanders thing, 100 things Commanders fans should know and do before they die. $20, and I'll sign it for you. You can pay for it. Let me put it in the chat just for the heck of it. I don't know if anybody will want it, but it's a great Father's Day present, maybe a Mother's Day present for somebody. Let's see here. Let me put this in. And that $20 is everything. Deliver it all that. Here's the ways you can pay me. I know y'all are just getting out your wallets there. Make sure you spell my last name right, because sometimes people send it to some other Rick Snider gets money. Okay, there you go. You can buy the book if you like, but it's a different world. We used to, knock out books, and you could do well, but today nobody wants to read a book, and two, nobody wants to read about a book about people that aren't winning. And yes, people have said, "Why don't you do a Dan Snyder book?" Because all y'all would tweet out the good parts in 5 minutes, and nobody would buy the book. So no. Antoinette, what's Maryland doing to keep the Commanders there? Well, they offered about $300 million to raise up the area around it, and high tide lifts all boats, kind of thing. I'm sure they could probably be squeezed for some more money. The infrastructure is kind of already there as far as roads, and I guess if you move a stadium, you got to move the sewer lines, but that can't be that much. And there's a metro down the road, and this new stadium would be closer to the metro size a little bit. So. That's really all they can do at this point, but they're interested. Yeah, we're in a lull on that, but it's going to come back soon on there. So anyway, we talked about Daniels. Daniels can make the throws. He seems confident enough without it being an overwhelming personality. One interesting thing about the draft is they signed 6 draft picks who were team captains. Now, I don't know if that's been more in the past, but I've never noticed anything like that before. No more than 2, 3. Maybe they have. I just had. It was also interesting. They had with 6 picks in the top 100 because of the trades. And that was the most any NFL team has ever had since they did a common draft in 1970. So I think it was a little underwhelming what they walked away with, given that historical note. But this is going to, but the thing about team captains I really like is this team is going to flip 30-ish players. They're going to flip about 60% of the roster. They have not done that since 1945. Okay, World War II vets came back home. Some of them, the World War, they were having trouble getting anybody playing because if you were healthy, you were fighting the war. So they did 3 years of like around 60 then. So that's what we're talking about. This roster turnover is unprecedented in a peaceful time, I guess we could say. That's pretty amazing. Daniel, thanks for coming. Doing great. Alexander thinks they're going back to RFK. Well, I'd say more likely than not, but it's a long road there. Monas, why don't you do food review videos that are longer than 2 minutes, a couple seconds? No, they're usually a minute or two because nobody cares. Once they see what you're eating, that's pretty much. Remember, I'm the brains, you're the beauty. That's why I do videos certain lengths. And I do food here and there. I did a pizza show like a week ago, 10 days ago. And I'll get back to it. Let's see. What's my take on the league allowing Nerf-looking helmets? Things, Monas. Hey, listen, if they keep guys from suffering brain injuries and they don't mind doing them, go ahead. I mean, they are weird looking. They're big. They're like a big foam thing that fits over their head. But if it's going to save your noggin, from having dementia when you're older, which we're seeing, go for it, man. Pride goes before the fall. Zorn. Oh, Jim Zorn's on. All right. Is there a general timeline for when you're able to evaluate players at different positions? Can you identify a hit or miss position earlier, one than the other? I think the hardest one to do is the lineman, especially in the off-season camps because they can't hit each other. They always say, wait till the pads come on. Well, I can usually tell about, skills position guys, but linemen, you can't. You got to see who's the dog, hitting each other. So that's the hardest one. Alexander, why don't you think they won't go to RFK? Well, I'm not saying they won't. I just said it was more likely than not. But you got to deal with politicians. Okay. Do I got to say anything more about that? Politicians, you kidding me? I got to rely on them. So I just wouldn't bet the red money on it. Joel, have you noticed the media coverage don't like us? If you think about back in the Cook era, Joe Gibbs era, they fell in with the team. Well, different eras of life for one thing. When you're winning, everybody's happy. Everybody's on the bandwagon. What are you going to yell about during those Super Bowl years? They were playing great, mostly. So, gotta reach out today from some Hollywood production company that said they wanted to talk to me about the '87 Redskins and thinking about doing something on a strike team. Well, first off, Keanu Reeves and the replacements did it badly. It wasn't much truth to it, but it was a football involved in both the situations. Anyway, so I said, well, I'll talk to you, but they're under conditions and they didn't want to do it. So I'm not doing it either. Forbes is a classic miss, says Mike. Let me just say this about Forbes. He's a zone cover guy. They asked him to be a man cover guy. He didn't do it very well. Why are we surprised? And ran a collapsing defense that couldn't help him either. Let's let him try and do what he can do best and then judge him. I'm going to throw last year away. Hope he comes back 10 pounds heavier. But they asked him to do something. That's on coaches making the mistake there, asking somebody to be something they're not. And coach, that's a big mistake coaches often make. They go, oh, we can change them. We can coach them up. No, they're pretty much what they are. And they got here being that. So why would you want to change them? I thought it was a bad pick because it didn't fit Rivera. But let's see if the new coaching staff can do something better with them. Do I expect the Commanders to be competitive this year, the traveling alien? Yeah, I think 500. If Jaden can play well, maybe, they can win 9. I think, about a third of the guys, free agents that signed deals back when it was crazy in March, about a third of them signed on 1-year pay-me deals. So they're kind of stopgap players. Maybe a couple of them do well and stay. but they're sort of transitioning the roster a lot. It's going to take a couple years. It's going to take chemistry a couple years. But the good part, going back to that team captain thing, normally rookies come in, you're kind of quiet, veterans lead, rookies watch, kind of thing. But they're not going to be a lot of veterans on this team. And so these kind of guys can make a play. It's no different you walking into a brand new job and suddenly, everybody, why do you have an opinion? You have been here 5 minutes. So I think that's one thing that team captains can help them. How quickly can Jaden get his hands on a playbook? Allen. Pretty much now, I think. Say drafts in. Yeah. I mean, they don't start on the field till a week from Friday. I'm going to try and go to that rookie day, May 10th. Um, I have to see what time it is because I have something else to do too. But I like going to rookie day because you can just get a fresh look at guys. Clayton, I'm glad we got Mike. Okay, how do I say this? Same Bristol. There's several names that they signed. I feel like Tank McNamara, but anyway, yeah, he's a nice one. See, no playbook until rookie camp. Yes, it's like a week from now, more or less. No one from Tampa, 4 tackles. We're still all on Washington's second round picks. Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't know why they didn't go offensive tackle. I mean, I knew that they loved, um, getting a chance at their first second round pick. They took Johnny Newton. I think I'm not saying his first name. Johnny Newton. It's Illinois. And they really thought he was of great value. And that's when sometimes you do that. And they could use it. Does it mean that they're trading Allen or Payne? I don't think so. And, you can never have enough good players and you got to transition at some point. So, Fedarian Mathis didn't show anything so far in 2 years. So I think that's why they went there. Joel, so I'm saying 8-9 or 9-8. Yeah, sure. Why not? I'd like to see the schedule. The schedule is coming out soon. Let me look at my calendar here. Let's see. It's in May. May 9th is when everybody's expecting the schedule to come out. And the NFL gets to do a big TV show and everybody's all happy about it. So May 9th, circle your calendars for that. And then you get a little more, you get a touch more sense into what the record of the year could be. But hey, you play somebody in September versus December, you might be playing 2 different teams. You may be 2 different teams on that. Okay, so Jeremy wants to know my take on Brandon Coleman. I'm a little confused about why everybody's talking guard when he mostly really plays tackle. And the team talked a lot about, his chance to play left tackle. I think that's where they're taking him there. Supposed to be a great athlete who didn't have a real big football background until high school. So let me see rookie day before I can really tell you much about that. I like Sam Cosmi on rookie day. Watched him. One of the things, just little things that I can look at because I've been doing this. This summer will be my 50th training camp somewhere. Jeez, where did years go? It's like today, my wife reminded me today is the 47th anniversary of our first date. We went to see Rocky. And I said, okay, well, we can go out to dinner and recreate it. We'll go to McDonald's and we'll get a couple things off the dollar menu. It's about what I spent. It's about what we got. So, but anyways, my 50th camps. I've seen ball players. I'm not a scout, but I usually can spot talent or not talented. Cosme, I looked at right away. They're doing stretching first day. Cosme's up the front. Cosme's engaged. He's ready to go. Sometimes you see first, second round picks. They're so pampered from the last college that they could goof off a lot. And they kind of think they can goof off here. You can see an attitude difference. Cosme, ready to go. I said, okay, there's one thing to watch. It's little things like that I'm watching. Mike, I kind of agree with you. They should have found a way to get a left tackle. They should have found a way to move up. Now, I don't know. They tried. Maybe people were asking crazy stuff, and I would then tell Peters, okay, do what your gut says. Clayton says you got to trust the picks. Well, I'm sure until they don't play well, then you have to do your own thing. Heavy V, they'll have the last place schedule, yes, in the division. And we already know who they're playing. We just don't know when. Steve, like my shirt in the Twitter photo. I remember that shirt. It was cool. I weighed a lot less too. Joel, why don't they play back-to-back like the Giants a few years ago? Oh, I hope they don't. Yeah, that was a weird one where they play. They had a bye week in between. That was a weird one. Sometimes they'll play them twice in 3 weeks, something like that. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be the NFL schedule maker. It's my title. My next book called The 50th Training Camp. Well, maybe if they do something crazy in it, I can do a Junction Boys kind of thing. Who knows? Luke McCaffrey was an interesting pick. I didn't get that one so much, but let me see what he is. You know, what's your take on protecting Daniels and not sending him to fan meet and greet? I didn't know that. Okay, I don't know anything about it, Jason. Big Dog, what's the addition of Newton and all the new linebackers? I'm wondering if they're thinking of going 3-4. Coaches haven't said anything about it yet. I think rookie day we'll be able to ask more about that. So another week away from figuring that out. Steve, thank you so much for chipping in. Steve hits the thanks button. It's that $ below the screen if you're watching on YouTube. And I do appreciate it. The money comes to me. Sometimes we do charity, but today I'm my own charity. But uh, you know, if you, I appreciate it because hey, listen, I don't have to do this. I do it. I don't take ad. I don't do commercials and any of that stuff in my ads. Now, if YouTube plays their little things, but I can't do anything about that. But I don't have sponsors and all that because I don't want to be owed anything to them. I owe the show to you, which is mean why I deal directly with you and don't put all that stuff in the way. So the new media, you kind of help support us. That's just how it is because you guys aren't buying newspapers anymore, so they're not hiring guys like me anymore. When do we get the new seasons of Discontent? Steve asks. That's the podcast I do with my buddy Matt tomorrow. So it'll be up tomorrow night. Matt took some time off, and we're going to take some time off, the off season. So, but we are doing a seasons of Discontent tomorrow, and it's a 30-minute show that we do. Screw 2 minutes. We just decided to do 30. No one from Tampa, Mickey D's. There you go. First date with his future bride was O'Donnell's in Bethesda. Ooh, rich guy. Okay. No, I think I did go. Yeah, I met my wife in high school, so I probably did go to Mickey D's. And back then, there really weren't a lot of restaurants around Southern Maryland. So, I don't remember what it cost, but it wasn't much. I do remember we got ice cream cones. You could get an ice cream cone for $1 back then. Now you get a hard look at you for $1. Mojo Daddy, would you prefer Drake May? Maybe. I mean, that's the thing. I think I would have drafted McCarthy personally, but I think the three were pretty close that you could just go with which one you want. But if we're talking about they're drafting this team to be good in 3 to 5 years, May would Daniels I think would start faster than May. But does May catch up by year 3? Don't know. So we'll find out in coming years. Who's right or wrong if we care to even pay attention on that. If you can hit the thumbs up button, at least that's the algorithm, cost you nothing. And the algorithm rewards by sending more people my way because they say, well, if people like them, so we might as well send new people to them. So that's why you hit the thumbs up button anytime you can. Let's see. Some reason they value tight end more than left tackle with the picks. Yes, Ross. I wasn't real thrilled about that tight end pick, to be honest. I mean, so yeah, it's kind of interesting that Peters openly talks at times about how you draft for need. That was always the big BS line of coaches. Oh, we have our board and we stick with our board, and it doesn't matter what we need. Nah, you pick what you need. I mean, to a point. If somebody is so much better and you can grab them, I mean, I think that's what the Newton pick really was about. Just too good to pass up. Because you do need to. There's a balance to it, you know. This is an art and a science doing all this. I thought Peters did a decent job overall on everything. Let's see, Mojo. Do you keep in touch with the legends? Some. They start bringing them back like Green. Yeah, that's part of the thought. Is getting these guys back. And you got to remember, these Super Bowl team guys are in their 60s and 70s now. You don't get them forever. Yeah, D Green and I know each other well. I'm happy for him. And it's funny, the last game of the season, one of the team officials came up to me and said, hey, we're going to call you in the offseason. We want to talk to you about who we should retire next. And I said, Darryl Green. He goes, no, we're going to talk about it then. I said, we can talk about it then all you want. It's Darryl Green. Anybody else is stupid. You could talk about Riggo, but I'm still going to say Darryl Green. Now, if they ask me who's next, it's Riggo. After that, I would have said Art Monk, but someone made a good point about Charlie Taylor. Both of them retired as the leading all-time receiver in the NFL. Um, and I think I like Charlie Taylor better than Art, to be honest. So it's just Charlie's teams didn't win anything, and Art's did. But I wouldn't go too much more because one, the last 30 years haven't given you many people to think about doing this with. So I wouldn't plan on doing too many more. Rigo, I think, is a must. And after that, I don't know. When's my next live chat? Yeah, just people come in every 15 minutes on the show, so that's why I don't mind repeating things. Next week, I have to be off. I have a medical thing I got to do. So the week after, which will be May 13th, I will do it. I have to take a group from Poland around town that day, but I'll be back at night. So, yeah, next week off, and then back a week, and then we'll see. I'll do a few weeks with the camps. Henry, did the 87 strike players ever get Super Bowl rings? Yeah, they did about 3 years ago, maybe. Bruce Allen was one nice thing he did for people was he got those guys their rings, and they deserved them. They went 3-0. Without that 3-0, they wouldn't have gotten home field advantage in the playoffs. It had something to do with winning. Mike, so Maryland's quarterbacks to take part in Seattle's rookie camp. Yeah, as a non-signed player, it's a tryout for him. I talked about Talia a couple weeks ago. I think he was better off not being drafted versus being somebody's camp fodder and 7th round pick that maybe you keep. It limits your options. Find the team that you're the best fit for, and hopefully he does that. I mean, he's Big Ten, record holder on stuff, and all. I mean, he's got some talent. I think he'll end up somewhere in the league. Scott, DQs was assembling a Legion of Boom 2.0. Hopefully, I don't know if it'll be the secondary is the boom, but I think he's trying to get a team of a boom, and that, hey, great. You want leaders, you want people to go out there and hurt people, and win games. Well, not hurt them, but you know what I'm saying. Don't injure them. Who plays more games at quarterback for the Seahawks, Gino or Sam? Yes, Mike. Ooh, that's a good question, isn't it? I'll say Sam. What the heck? Dynamic Dave. Whoa, you look like Andy Reid. In that thumbnail, I do look like Andy Reid. I will admit that. I used to be 70 pounds heavier, so I probably look more like Andy too. He's a little older than me, a lot richer than me, but there's a resemblance. I give it that. People say it all the time. I have a picture somewhere with it. Maybe Andy will come on the show as a guest soon. My Andy, not that Andy. Do you believe in Adam Peters so far, Mojo? Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing for me to yell about much. A little tinkering here and there, but he's the GM experience, and I'm not. So give him a shot. Marvin, DOD. Well, I could say it's Department of Defense, but I'm not sure where else it is. For you. All right. Well, we're almost halfway through the show. Okay. So people cycle through all the time. We're getting a good showing tonight. People usually watch 15 minutes and then they go, go do something else. I mean, Bob loves Abishola's on tonight, so I got it taped. That show makes me laugh. So I said, so if you can hit the $ down below, so I can be a whore and beg for money, and maybe next show we'll do fundraiser for the food bank. I'll put the money to that. But tonight it's kind of late to start that. So we try and help different people. But the $ helps support local journalism, because the big people aren't paying much anymore. I work for several groups and do several other things. I'm semi-retired, even saying all that. I can't be doing this forever. I keep saying this is my last year. I've been saying that for about 5 years. So I don't know. Let's see how I feel. Would you like to see him add? What would you like to see him add at running back? Nothing, Zorn. I think they got everything they need there. Mike, Daryl Green got back with the team recently. Good down back. Yeah, Daryl's, a lot of the old vets, they just felt neglected, or they felt like Snider was trying to raise money off of them. And they didn't like all that. So they stayed away mostly. But that's over. Josh Harris grew up a fan here too, like Snider, but he's not the same kind of guy. So, um, he's welcoming these people back, and I think you will see them more. Um, Charles Taylor, I love the content. Well, thank you. What do you think the team will do at left and right tackle? Well, I guess Wiley's still your right tackle. Left tackle, maybe it's the Rook. We'll have to see. Um, Lucas, Jason, I'd say Lucas really the answer? I like Cornelius Lucas. I think he's a really great spot starter and reliever. But to ask him to do 17 games, no. But he's a nice player to start. Maybe they start with him in the season and then, bring on a Rook or somebody else. Or maybe they're going to still sign somebody. You never know. There's still some time to do that. Clayton, need Daryl to mentor our young corners. Well, Daryl's got a busy life doing a lot of things. He's not a coach. Coaches work 100-hour weeks. They're insane. How likely is to pick up a tackle? Asked Alan. It's unlikely to get somebody good because teams hold on to their offensive linemen, and we all see why. Mojo, I'm a national treasure. Well, we must be bankrupt at this point then. But thank you for saying so. I'd like to see Diesel back. Mike. Well, Rigo came to a game last season. He didn't like Snider at all either. That's why I said these guys wouldn't come back that way. But he did come back. Personally, if I was Josh Harris, I'd give Rigo $100,000 and say, I want you to put on the jersey, go to midfield, bow to all four corners like he did that famous time, and wave to the crowd. It would be worth $100,000. And I bet Rigo would do it. Well, I stay until the team goes back to RFK, Mojo. I don't know if they're going to get back to RFK by 2030. I'll be 70 by then. I will say, if my health holds up, I'll stay. If it doesn't, and I've had my problems over time, then I won't. At some point, I'll have to say time is more valuable than anything else. I'm not dying, but I've been through heart attack, open heart, all kind of stuff. So I appreciate these years that are not given. And I'm spending more time with my grandkids and all these kind of things. That's why, at some point you have to just say it's time to go. And that's why I'm semi-retired now, so I can go do things. I don't want to be a beat writer. I mean, I covered the draft steadily those 3 days. I was exhausted. It's a young man's business. There aren't old guys in the biz like me anymore. What's Jamin Davis's future with the team? Ty, I think they give him another season and then he's probably gone. They didn't offer him a 5th-year deal extension. They could have, and they didn't because it would have cost them $14 million. That's too much. So I think he plays this year, and then I think he goes somewhere else. Mike, when will they build a statue of Jack Kent Cook? Well, Josh Harris isn't afraid or threatened by Cook's image like Snider was. Snider took down the name, everything, the pictures on the walls, everything. Josh Harris isn't like that. I could see him doing that, and when they do, it's something that I'm going to be talking with the team too about. The next game, how do you do your Hall of Fame or do something? I have some ideas. I think with the technology, things like 5G, wouldn't you like a wall where you could see Darryl Green run, 4-2 down the wall, and you can race against him? See how you do against Darryl Green running down there. See what a 4-2 really looks like. How you would do things like that. The 5G technology is really going to allow us to do some things. A lot of things. You're going to be able in a few years, what I've been told, you'll be able to feel like you're on the field and the game is around you. And you'll see a whole different game than you've been watching from the stands and on TV. It's a totally different experience being on the field. And I've only been on the field in practice. I can tell you, your head's on a swivel. Never, obviously not in a game like that. But even the sidelines give you a different perspective. So I think you're going to do some things like that. And I think they'll have a Legends thing with some 5G technology we can do. And maybe there'll be, a guy looking like Cook. They do this at the Bible Museum. They have characters that look real. And Cook can sit there and go, "My God, you bloody idiot." Maybe they'll have him talking to me. That's how I'll get in and calling me an idiot. Mojo, thank you so much. And Mike, let's see. I didn't like the way Cook was portrayed in the HBO series Winning Times, says Charles. I never saw it. I know people said you should. Only so much time. I didn't. Mike, the ultimate video game. You could call the plays. Yep. I mean, there's a lot of great things you can do, and I think they are going to do this in the next stadium. Um, Mojo wants a modern stadium. Yes, Cook's biggest mistake with building FedEx is he loved the Giant Stadium of the past, but he based his stadium on a stadium in the past and not something in the future. So it got old really quick. And and he built it really fast too because he was dying and he wanted to try and see it. And Cook spent his last day parked at midfield in his car, looking at the construction being done around him, and then he died the next morning. So I mean, they cut some. I don't want to say they cut things to get done quicker, but they moved quicker, and it wasn't the same kind of thing. They couldn't afford to do more elaborate stuff. Having said all this, when you see this new stadium and all these nice things, don't you know? You can expect a big ticket increase. It's going to be expensive. You don't build $2 billion stadiums or whatever it is for free. You're going to pay for it. And I, as a taxpayer, do not want to pay for all of it. The mistake building in Landover. This mistake was not. Here's the thing: they could have stayed at RFK and built a new stadium right next to it. There was a lot of wrangling going on. Mayor Barry was voted, taken out of office because of that cocaine conviction. He would later come back and be it. But Cook did not want to do business with the woman. It's as simple as that. And he used to get Sharon Pratt Kelly, who was a very honest person, very nice person. He would say, Sharon, give me a hug. And then he would grab her butt with both hands and really tick her off. And then she started screaming at him about disrespect. And he'd scream back and walk out laughing that he delayed it again. He didn't want to do business with her. He would have done business with Barry. It would have been there. The other part is finally it gets to a point where you got to go up on Capitol Hill and kiss some rings to get, the extension so that they could keep the stadium there. And Cook just wouldn't do it. His ego would not allow him to do it. So the Capitol Hill guy said, then screw you. Then he was going to look around. So he was going to get Alexandria. Gee, Ted Leon, just can't believe he fell in that same trap. And so that didn't work. And then he went to Laurel, and that didn't work out. And so he was stuck here. I mean, he had to go into this new stadium in Landover. It was an old dairy farm. I remember being there when they were digging. It was wild. Just didn't work out as well as we would like. But you know what? Suppose these were great teams. You would be singing Hail to Landover. They just didn't do it. There you go, Mojo. There's it. That's why you hit the dollar sign on this thing. Quite honestly, who's telling you those stories but me? Because I'm one of the few guys that really was around and covered those days. That's why you chip in a few bucks to hear stories you don't hear normally. It's like if I'm singing a song you would normally get. I could sing, but then you'd have to pay more money to make me stop. What's the capacity of a new stadium? Well, I think 60,000, maybe 65 is going to be what the new stadium is, Zorn. Deanie, I guess it is. Get JD5 to a stadium with a safe surface, man. Well, nobody wants to see the guy get hurt. You're investing millions and millions of dollars in this guy and the team, fortunes. So, on and off the field, of course, you want to try and keep them. All right, Clayton, they want the fan base back 100% on board, which isn't happening. So it changed the name. Oh, here's somebody said to me the other day. I hadn't thought about this so much. He goes, why can't they go back to Braves? They were the Boston Braves the first year before they switched to Redskins. You could say we're going back to our original name. I'd tell the NFL, I got lawyers, see in court. But, I'm not the one paying $6 billion and need all the corporate sponsorship I can get. It just would be hard. That would be a battle. But Braves, I think we all be okay with Braves, and you could have the Indian again and all that. I wouldn't be afraid to do that. And I think everybody would be happy with that name instead of half of you wanting, Red Hogs and half of you wanting this. There's no consensus there. So we'll see. Mike used to spend an hour and a half each way to go to the game. Man, I knew people coming from Carolina. And the walk of shame after the losses. Yeah. I mean, I don't see that too much because I'm working down the locker room or whatever. But yeah, I get you. I used to know people who drove from Carolina. I knew two guys I met once in Miami. I had to cover the Breeders' Cup, and I had to take the 6 a.m. flight back to come cover the game at home. And I met two guys on board, old guys, retired, who would fly to every home game from Miami, and they'd take the metro over, and then they would fly back that night. That's a fan for you. How much did that cost? Um, Mike likes that. MTC for him likes that. See, I'm telling you, Bravehearts. So now we're getting into Mel Good and Hassani. But warriors, I was okay with because they said warriors are Indian culture. No, warriors have been around since the Spartans and the Greeks and the Romans. Anybody picked up a spear, was a warrior. I have rejected that argument. Um, and Charles, I agree with you. Yeah, how come the other teams get to do it? Well, Snider traded all the problems he was in to try and get out of them by giving up that name, and then people didn't let it go, and eventually, he had to give up the name, so he gave it up for nothing. It's too bad because it would have weathered the storm. It weathered the storm many a time. It would have still weathered the storm today. So I like Braves, and there's a lot of different Braves. So the Atlanta Braves can't just sit there and go, "That's our name," because there's a lot of Braves. So get something you like if they're going to do it. I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of. Let's say they win a Super Bowl a couple years from now, then you're stuck with Commanders. Mojo, you're the commies. I know. I'm surprised people don't say the commies more often. I thought that would be the Manders. I really hate the Manders name. It sounds like America. It's not America. It's America. Mike Snider gave up the name. Yep, because of all his lawsuits. And Snyder's been very quiet. I read the European papers now and then, looking to see if there's any mention of him. And no, he's been quiet. I don't think he gives it. I don't think he looks back here at all. Clayton, maybe Washington Warpath, and Warpath is a Native American hunting party. So there you could at least make that point of this is American Indian stuff. But the Braves, no. I don't know if the Boston Braves predate Atlanta Braves or not, but probably because the Atlanta Braves came from Milwaukee, right? So that was like in the 60s. So you'd be right about that because the Boston Braves were 1932 and maybe 33. I forget what year. I think it's 34. They changed it, but I have to go back. Mike, how big is Snyder's yacht? I don't know. I didn't mark it off. I never seen the thing. I hear it's big. What was the fault that made Snyder such a bad owner? Alexander asked. He was a bad person. He treated people poorly, and the bad karma bit him in the butt all the way. You go in that building today, it is a totally different place. The energy is through the roof, just from the change of owners. Let's see. Suzanne says even Washington football team's better. If they call Washington Football Club, maybe I think go ahead and do soccer. Keep the name because we win the Super Bowl. It'll blank off Snyder even more, Mojo. There you go. I don't think Snyder's worrying too much. Joe said Jason Wright want to steer away anything from Native American. Yeah. I mean, Dan Snyder wanted Warriors. That was his choice, first choice when he made the deal, and they convinced him not. They should have worked harder and just take what you want. Take what you want. Hire your lawyers and go figure it out. Boston and Milwaukee to Atlanta. Yeah, I forget what year they moved, William. Let's see. Clayton. Snyder was the owner for clout and rubbing elbows. Yeah, I mean, he enjoyed doing that. So, Alexander, is David Tepper the next Snyder? Did you see the video where they had him talking to a restaurant crew about the sign outside that criticized him and said, let the coach and GM make the picks? You pull over and go argue people at the restaurant for that? Dude, you're never going to survive this game doing junk like that. Yeah, he's the worst owner. Glad we're no longer dealing with his worst and the worst owner anymore. Oh, we got 8:40, 20 minutes ago. So nobody's hitting the thanks button, but if you could, there's a $sign. Hit the thumbs up button if you're just not willing to spend any money here tonight, and you won't get these great stories. If I don't make anything, I don't want to do it anymore. It's a little bit of everything that goes into this, and money always matters. How long does it take to evaluate a safety, Zorn? Couple years. I mean, I think you give everybody a mulligan their first year. First year in the NFL is hard. I don't care if you're the ball boy, the down marker crew, whatever, man. First year is hard in the NFL. So what do you do your second year? Same thing with reporters. First year, you try not to look stupid. Second year, you still look stupid, but you try harder not to look stupid. Mike, I remember Snider cut down trees on his lot. Yeah, it's illegal to do so. And the park ranger, they called him out. Got sent to Alaska. I didn't know that. Um, and Snyder didn't care. He just paid the fine. That house in Potomac was donated to the American Cancer Society. I have a feeling it was a better tax write-off than selling it for because he couldn't get what he wanted. Um, uh, okay, Redskin fans. So you can also get my. Somebody's asking how to get the book. You can get it on Amazon, but it won't be signed. But if you see, look up here. I have Venmo and PayPal. I don't do Zelle or cash mode. Sorry, but where is that? Sorry, I'm looking. It was up here earlier. Venmo and PayPal are the biggest ones. Venmo is an easy one to do. Thank you, MTC and Suzanne and Hassan. Thank you all for chipping in. See, that's what I'm talking about. Venmo, here's my. And PayPal. If you want to get the book, so $20, I'll sign it and and I'll ship it to you. Is that all right there? Yeah. Okay. So thank you all. You're not promoting presidential pours. Well, I keep a box by me. If you like drinking and presidents, I wasn't going to really do it, but okay. Tell you what, we'll make it a $10 special. Same thing, Venmo and PayPal. $10 talks about every president, their favorite drink. There was a few that didn't drink, about 5 of them. But if you like, it's a thin book. It's got what we call them pictures. Who is that? All right, who can tell me who the president is? Go ahead, Steve, real quick. Anyway, if you'd like to do that, or if you want to buy both books, we can do that too. Both books, 25. Can't beat that. And I'll mail them both together. So 25 for both, 10 for presidential pours, and 20 for the Redskin book. I'm giving this away. We're making crazy deals tonight. Anyway, and you can buy them for your fan in your life, maybe Mother's Day or Father's Day. We have women that follow the team. A lot of women. Women now buy. The last time I heard this was about a year ago, but the NFL guy was telling us that 52% of merchandise is bought by women. Maybe they're buying it for men as gifts, whatever. It doesn't matter. Women are still buying it, and they were saying 40 some. I think 48% of fans were women. That kind of surprised me a little bit, that much. But because I don't hardly have any women watch me except Suzanne and Antoinette. All right, Alexander, William, and Charles. You all got it right. That was Jerry Ford, who played football. There you go, Mike. $10 special. See, there you go. Just send it in. What was my drink of choice, Alexander? Well, when I was a younger man, mostly I drink beer. I learned drinking hard liquor is harder. Now when I'm an old man, I have a beer once in a while. Clayton, thank you for that. Mike, so do I answer that? I had a bottle of George Washington's whiskey. They recreated it. Ooh, that was rough. That was dry. But our colonial forefathers drank 3 times more alcohol than we did do today because they couldn't trust the water more than anything. But guys like George Washington, Jefferson, Adams, they were ragers, man. Adams would drink his first shot of cider at 5 a.m. every day because you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning. So these dudes could seriously. Michael, I'm glad you like the Monday chats. I just kind of free fall here and answer your questions. Favorite draft pick we made in this draft? I knew somebody was going to ask me that. Let me look. Newton. I'd say Newton because I think he's going to have a big impact. I mean, Daniels better have a bigger one, but I think Newton could be something. But I want to see him on rookie day. I want to see him on the field a little more. Is there a website we can get samples of what the president used to drink? You mean like actual samples or just telling you? I mean, if you go to the Amazon listing, it explains the book a little more on there. Like I said, I won't sign them if you buy them on Amazon because they take care of all that print on demand. But and you can just Google your favorite president, and what they drank, and a lot of it comes up. I pulled data from like presidential libraries and different websites. I mean, there's some alcohol websites that talk about past presidents that drank them. So, what did I learn? I didn't know Jimmy Carter was a big winemaker. That really surprised me. I thought he'd be total teetotaler, but he'd drink a beer, probably Billy beer. So I learned that a lot. I always thought it was Cuddy Shark for some reason instead of Cuddy Sark. Maybe I drank too much and couldn't read the bottle right. That was something I learned. I was like, oh, it's Cuddy Sark. Let's see. Alexander, after tonight, the Nationals be 500. That's, yeah. All right. So, Alexander, I'm watching the game yesterday. They're down 7-0. Corbin, man, just pay the dude off and let him go home. Jeez, he cannot pitch anymore. I thought, okay, I'm doing something else for a while. I'm not watching this. Try back on. They're up 10-9. Like, what? I mean, I missed all that. These guys are playing hard. They're doing the best they can. Some of the young pitching's coming through. Maybe the Nats are a year or so away from being contenders again. If they can hold up to 500 for the year, that's tremendous. I think they have a good manager. Which Super Bowl loss hurt more the most, 7 or 18, Mojo? 7, because I was, I don't know, 12, 13 years old, something like that. And, as a kid, you feel it a lot more than you do as an adult, I think. And I really hated that they lost, and they didn't even do well in the game. 18 kind of was more of a surprise. Charles, you might have answered this before, but how did I get into covering the team? No, I've never actually talked about that. And the funny part is, dude, I didn't really ever want to cover this team because it's a lot of work and a lot of pressure. And I was covering horse racing in colleges and having a good time covering horses, but that all faded away. And they'd had me when I was in my 20s at the Washington Times. They'd have me come out here and there. They just needed extra manpower and say, okay, hey, I need you out at Redskin Park today. Here's what you're going to do. I did the Super Bowl, the last Super Bowl. The second Super Bowl, I was around covering it, but didn't go to the game. But the third one, I did go to the game. And then I decided, okay, they took me out of horse racing, which I love. And I said, my early 30s, what's there to cover? Where's the money? What's the big thing in town? The Redskins. And then I said to myself, okay, if you're going to do this, you're going to be the best one there. And I don't care how hard you got to work, you're not going to be second to anybody. And I had a heart attack at 42 from pushing myself that hard. But, I had my moment in the sun. It's long since faded. Now I'm just a old columnist telling you what he thinks. But that's kind of the story of it all. So I've been doing sports since 1978. You used to have to cover preps, and then you cover colleges, and then you got to the pros. Now, because there's so much fewer media, the young people get up to the top a lot faster. Kevin, Commanders could be a problem for opposing teams. I think so. I mean, I think they're about a 500 team. On good days, they can beat people. I think there's upgrades all around on this team. Alexander Corbin's making 35 mil. Is that what it is this year? But I don't care. If you're going to get rocked every day, that doesn't help anybody. Screw it. Let them go. Just say, thanks for the World Series help, but we're done. Suzanne, switching to the NBA, do you think Wemby will win Rookie of the Year? No, I don't think so. But I'm not a real big NBA guy because the teams suck so much. I see you're a Spurs fan. Well, you didn't do any better either. But the Wiz are so bad, I just can't watch this much anymore. I watch for a few minutes. Grew up a Wiz fan, but a Bullets fan. Do I watch baseball? You betcha, Mike. I love baseball. I don't watch it every night. I do watch things besides sports. When it's your job, you need a break. I'm just not one of those guys that can watch a game every day. On it, I watch some. Let's see, Mojo, and of course I'm a Nats guy. I support Washington teams. Let's see, Mojo. What does a successful season for Jaden look like? 3,000 yards and more touchdowns than picks, and healthy. I think that's see him get better. I don't have a hard thing. How many primetime games this year? 70 chip. One. They're not going to play Thanksgiving because they played last year, so they won't do that. Just isn't a lot of. They don't play a lot of sexy games. I think, opponents this year. Not as much as usual. So I'll say one. Everybody gets one. I say they get one. It's probably is a Monday night. I hope it's a road game. So I hate covering home night games. I get home at 2 a.m. I knew this was coming. I seen him. He's Speaking of horse racing, what do you think about horses this year? Kentucky Derby is Saturday. I'm not picking till Friday because I've covered 20 straight derbies. And I learned you wait till the day before to make sure nobody's hurt because they'll lie to you about that. You got to pay a lot of attention to things, little things. It's like watching practice. You watch the morning jogs and works, and all life is about paying attention to details. That's a lot of what this is about. Check my Twitter on Friday, Rick Snider's Washington or Snider_remarks. I'll have a derby pick out. Do I think Jaden starts week 1? Asked Gregory. Yes. Hell or high water. I mean, unless something bad happens. Yes. Charles grew up a Bullets fan. I know how you feel. I hope they're on the come up, but they got a lousy roster. And I don't even know who's coaching. We don't know that yet. I mean, it's just a nightmare. Oh, they play the Ravens. That's nice. They play 9 home games regular season. So May 9th is when we think the schedule is coming out. Mike, do you remember the Capitol Center? Oh, sure. Spent a lot of time there. Rush and Van Halen. I was there for the Fleetwood Mac concert. It had 23,000 people. They oversold the place. People just sat on the steps between the rows of seats. It used to take like 3 hours to get out of Cap Center at night if you were out of luck. But I saw tons and tons of things at Cap Center. A lot of concerts too. Clayton, I like the comment about Jade saying, watch the Florida game. Yeah, everybody was laughing. There's the thing. They always put backers in the room for these pressers so that they laugh and do these things. Joe, yeah, Stevie Nicks, man. I was in love with her. But, Lindsey Buckingham is a way underrated guitarist. Dude, nobody ever talks about Lindsey as one of the great guitarists of all time. If you watched Ted Lasso, they had a show, I think the 3rd season, about the British were arguing with the American about who was the greatest one. And I would have said, well, Peter Frampton. But, I think Lindsey Buckingham doesn't get enough credit. I mean, he and Stevie are singing a song where they basically say, go your own way, because they broke up as a couple. And they're sitting there talking their life story right there on stage. Hickory Hound. How about Jonathan Allen playing defensive end? Don't see it. Now, if the second rounder makes way onto the field more, maybe you do something like that. Charles graduated high school Cap Center. I graduated University of Maryland, Cole Fieldhouse, because I went to Gwen Park. We just had a little thing, so we had to do graduations there. They fired the coach, Gregory, on Wizards. Yeah. All right, we got a few minutes to go. Washington Commanders, G Dead Fan 88 thinks it was a great draft. Now time to get ready to play some real football. Well, yeah. Okay, funny story about the Dallas thing. Suzanne, do the teams do the funny videos for the schedule release? Yeah. So I mean, they've done the Commanders' social media. Really has gotten so much better in the last 2-3 years, and they do some really entertaining videos. Much to my detriment as the regular media, but just saying they do a great job. Let's see. Lindsey's very underrated. There you go, Jeff. See, you agree with me. Give me some Cliff Burton playing bass. Clayton, I don't know. What about McVeigh on Fleetwood Mac? Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, that was a great song. Daniel, how do you think Terry and Jaden wind up working out together? Maybe. Probably. They'll probably do something. Some of the best Grateful Dead shows at Cap Center. I remember that, G-Dead. I never went to any, but they played for like 6 hours. There was one time I know they played till like 2 a.m, and they there were rules about playing after midnight, I think, but they just let them roll. I think they played like 6-7 hours. Did anyone take you under their wing during your first years on the Redskin beat? Well, I had a partner, David Elfin. We worked together, and Dave did a great job helping me. Marty Herney was the Redskins beat writer at the Washington Times at one time and was older than me and gave me a lot of advice about things. He's now with the team. I know you all hate him, but Marty's a great guy, and he really helped me too. Otherwise, you kind of sink and swim on your own. Oh, I don't know. There were a few guys, the old beat guys from other papers like Warner Hessler, who's passed away. Was he covered OJ in Buffalo? He was so old. I don't know. I got lucky and was treated well by people because I treat people well. Um, Clayton's got Fleetwood. The rumors on vinyl, dude. I think I have rumors on every form, cassette, 8-track. I have an 8-track player too. That's one of these things you can do with batteries. I found it when I moved. I couldn't believe it still worked. It was like it wasn't one you put in a car. It was one you could carry around with batteries. Charles, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Ever see the Grateful? I've never seen the Grateful Dead, Mojo. That really wasn't my band. What about the offensive coordinator, Mike? What about him? I think he's. I think Cliff is a smart dude. Milton, I like Smoot and Santana on podcast together. Oh, I didn't hear that one. Oh, but they're funny. I mean, Fred's a funny guy, and Santana's really a cool guy too. Santana's one of the coolest guys you're going to meet. Smoot's one of the funnier ones. I always remember the first time I met Smoot, he's talking about the cones on the field with that deep Southern accent. And I'm thinking, like, orange traffic cones? What kind of drill are you talking about? No, the cones. He was saying corners. Oh, Rod Gardner was another one hard to understand. Trey Johnson could be really hard to understand sometimes. Bob Dylan, great. Ooh, I wasn't a big Bob Dylan guy either. Couldn't understand what he was saying. Do you think they got some stadium land by the end of the year or beginning of next year, Greg? I think next year is what I would expect for everything to happen. There's a lot of talk between now and then. 70 says Sane is. I'm just going to call him Sane. Will be fun to watch. Favorite NFL city to visit? Heavy V. You know, my wife and I are just talking about going on vacation. She's never been. We're going to go to Seattle and maybe Alaska. But Seattle's a cool town. I've been there a handful of times. I loved going to Arizona. It was always fun to go there. Vegas didn't have a team when I was there. I'm sure I'd say that. I liked, you liked going anywhere warm in the coldest months. Green Bay was a really cool place, but I should say a really cold place. But it was a cool place to visit. Chicago Soldier Field, these places. The ones you've seen. Dallas, the first time I went was like, wow, seen this on TV so much. It's this old barn. God, I was quite surprised. First time I went to Dallas, covered Dallas game. I think it was Thanksgiving. And I'm used to seeing it from the Washington side of it. So I go down there and it's 95% Dallas. And I feel like I've been dropped behind German lines or something. I mean, I'm fine. Enemy territory here kind of thing. It was so different. Let's see, Clayton, I have Dark Side on the Moon. Dude, I listened to that, a few years ago. I listened to that album and I thought, we must have all really been stoned listening to this. It's not that good. Sorry. There's a couple good songs, but so yeah. All right. How much people are buying vinyl now? I still have some vinyl, not too much. I still have a record player. It's right over here. Matter of fact, I can listen to it. Don't do much, but I do some. Now it's just like you just say Alexa and tell it what to play for you. It's not quite the quality. No, Alexa, go away. Alexa just said, "What? You need me? No, you're already ratting me out to the cops or whatever I'm talking about." Jacob, let's see. What I'm thinking is our best tackle is Sam Cosmi. No, Cosmi is not a tackle. Not a tackle. I said that like 3 days after he showed up. He doesn't have the side, length to do it. He's a guard. We don't make two mistakes. And that was something Marty Schottenheimer taught me. Don't move a guy and then have a problem at two positions where the one guy isn't as good at the other. Leave your guy where he belongs and just still have one problem. He was right about that. I've seen the new Bears stadium stuff. That doesn't mean it's going to be that way. There was a great story about how a lot of renderings are fakes. Remember the Commanders one where they were going to have a moat around the building? That kind of nonsense. Ooh, it's 9:00. I'll answer a few more and then we'll get going. Let's see. Go Dead fans got to meet Joe Gibbs, Monty Coleman, great guy, Daryl Green, late 80s at a high school somewhere. Yeah, the Redskins used to have a traveling basketball team in the 70s, and the Redskin players would come play Johnny Holiday and the Wonders, I think they were called. And they played like my junior high for fundraising, and you'd see all the pro players, and they're playing the teachers of the school, so they would win by 100-0. But that was pretty cool. I saw that kind of thing. Um, all right, Clayton, whatever. What do I think of Ed McCaffrey's son? I got to see more of him, Daniel, to be honest. Um, Clayton, thank you so much. Remember the Bears game when Theismann punted like 10 yards? Yeah, I know. But he had been a punter. I think the pressure got to him in that spot. All right. We're done for an hour. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Next week, I got medical stuff to deal with. So next week, say a prayer. I would appreciate it. I'm not dying, but still, I don't want to go into it too much. But good thoughts, appreciate it. Better than money. And everybody, Steve, thank you so much. When I come back in 2 weeks, we'll talk about hopefully rookie camp, all that kind of stuff. And we get into the OTAs and all that stuff until the middle of June. And then everybody goes on vacation on that. So we're good. And thank you all for coming, Suzanne and Daniel and Dead fans and Daniel again and Hickory. I appreciate all that. And we've had a lot of fun tonight. I appreciate just an interesting topics tonight, I guess. We talked about a little bit of everything. So I'm good. I'm Rick Snider for Rick Snider's Washington. You can watch this on replay if you came in late. It'll start in just a couple minutes. Morning shows at 6 a.m. and around 5 p.m. Tomorrow, Seasons of Discontent podcast will be up. And then I'm going to take a break. But we still have videos up. I think I might go on vacation this year and not post anything for a week. See if you miss me. All right. I think we'll have the schedule release when we get back. May 9th is the guess. So that would be a yes at that point. But May 9th is kind of the guess on a new schedule. And on your way out, hit the thumbs up button. Make sure Google says, "Ooh, we like you." And that's it. All right. Thank you all so much. I will see you again soon. 2 weeks. Well, you see me in the morning for regular shows. All right. Bye, everybody.